Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. How are you guys doing? Sorry for the late stream. I just honestly totally forgot. I was just doing something else and then I was like, oh wait, it's Wednesday. I fucked up, but is what it is. Hope no one waited for me. That would suck. Anyway, there's a few things to talk about today. Bitcoin's struggling, and altcoins obviously too. So we can talk about Bitcoin. We can talk about altcoins. See how those are going, and yeah, that's it. Technical Roundup is the only channel more active in the bear market. Love it. It's true. Um, for some reason, we don't really do so well during the bulls. Triple top was not a meme. No. This is still a meme. The triple top is still a meme. It's still just a pullback. It is still just a pullback. Like obviously, like you can get pullbacks from these levels, but trend reversing very unlikely. Did you sell Doge, sir? No, I'm waiting for 0.1 so I can buy more. I told you guys I didn't buy much. I didn't buy enough, so I'm happy if it goes lower because I really didn't get to buy much. I'm waiting every day for you. Shut up. Shut up. Funny how you give a shit when Bitcoin goes down. Funny because I'm not in a Bitcoin position. I mean, it kind of makes sense, no? Like I buy Bitcoin when it goes down and I sell it when it goes up. So it's more interesting to me when it goes down rather than up. Don, your gut feeling is unmatched. Yeah, it's been quite good. I'm long Solana. Tell me I made the right decision. I need approval. My dad never gave me Don. I think Solana is worse than ETH, bet wise, but it's not the worst bet in the world. Why did you stop Gainsy out? I didn't do no such thing. I would never. Anyway, let's run this through and then we can do the questions and all that kind of stuff. So the monthly time frame closed decent, immediately pulled back to support, right? Which is not the end of the world. I don't necessarily like it when you have breakouts that pull back immediately. They usually don't tend to just end well. But there's a few examples on the monthly where the opposite is the case. This one being one. We had a breakout, immediately retested, and then just completely giga ran, right? So not all is lost on that front. But generally, I don't like breakouts that don't do shit. Do you guys remember when we talked about this one? It's like, oh, we closed above, that's bullish, but if we close below, just get the fuck out. Well, that turned out to be the top, right? So it's not the best, but also like triple tops are memes. I'm not really in, like I don't really believe in them too much. I think there's a good chance we're still gonna go higher. So any kind of dips are for buying. It's just a question of how low do we go, and I think how low can we go? I think the maximum that we can do on the downside is this support here on the monthly time frame. Anything below seems unrealistic to me. Anything in this support seems possible. So that's kind of the high time frame picture that we have. It's bullish, even if it pulls back quite a bit. It's still bullish. If it pulls back quite a bit, it's a big buy. And yeah, the monthly doesn't really help much more, other than the fact that we are at support right now. So if you're now starting to turn bearish, you're technically turning bearish into support on the higher time frames. The weekly time frame, and this is why I say breakouts that immediately pull back are shit. Do you remember like last week when I said that? Was that 2 weeks ago already? What the fuck? No. Last week, like, look, we had a breakout here above the high. I pulled back immediately, and this is something that just rarely turns out good. And in this case, it fucked off to the downside, which is obviously not great for bulls. It is at support now too, so we have the monthly at support, the weekly at support. I'm not rushing into this, but technically high time frames are at support, right? The reason why I'm not rushing into it is because, to me, this is a false breakout on the weekly time frame, and we had a false breakout on the weekly time frame before, and that led to all of this. So this false breakout here is enough to technically take it towards like 50k. I don't think necessarily much lower, but I don't like it. And I'm willing to be bearish at support, or like at least not be buying at support for it. The last few weeks I've been saying, yeah, charts look decent, but my gut is bearish. Well, it's still bearish. Charts look a little bit worse than they did before. Still good though, still good. Does the halving mean anything to you? No, not really. Not really. I'm scared, Duck. Please tell me everything will be all right. I think everything will be all right. It's just a question of, can you sit through a pullback to 50k? Maybe 45, maybe 40, but I think that would be very low. But anything in that region, like anything in the 40% pullback region, like, are you okay with holding through, at worst, a pullback towards like 44-ish? If yes, I think you're going to be just... How bad will altcoins get wrecked if Bitcoin goes to 50k? Very bad. Why does the halving doesn't mean anything according to you? I'm not saying it doesn't mean... The guy asked, does the halving mean anything to you? And I said no. That doesn't mean I'm saying the halving just generally doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't mean anything to me. I think with every passing halving, it gets less and less important. It's the whole point of it. Like, you have a hole, right? You have the rewards, and they halve every time. So the impact of the halving just decreases by half every time. And we're quite far in. So I think like the whole thing is a little bit overblown, and I think people are basically buying, expecting prices to go up because of it. And I think the reason why we've been having price appreciation after the halving is because this fucking market just only goes up. So people just kind of conflate the two. Is that the right word? They're like, oh yeah, the price went up. Like that was a halving and price went up, so that must mean the halving always makes price go up. I think that's not necessarily true. It's obviously not bad, but yeah, it's not bad for price, but I don't think it necessarily needs to make the price go up immediately. Just longer term. I think if Bitcoin pulls back, altcoins won't get fucked as everyone thinks. They got decimated last week. Just a thought though, or cope. I think you're wrong. I think basically what we saw on the altcoins was a bunch of people basically getting out, and it's showing massive weakness, right? So if Bitcoin goes down, I think that weakness will only amplify it. It's not like, oh, we got the washout. So it's just like there's massive weakness on the altcoin front. And so if Bitcoin goes down, I think they're going to do worse, quite a bit worse than Bitcoin does. Now, obviously, if Bitcoin goes up, I think they're going to do better. So depending on whether you believe in weekly and monthly support, you can bet on altcoins. I mean, it is weekly and monthly support. I don't want to be bear targeting right now, but also, like, I look at the daily time frame, I'm like, this is kind of shit. We talked about the support before, right? When we put back here, and I was like, this has to hold, otherwise we're kind of like screwed because the support is shit. And then we rallied, I got rejected again at range high, went to the support, and we're leaning on it quite heavily, and I don't like it. So I think even if you're bullish, you would expect a washout and it to come up again, and then you can argue about this being bullish low time frames. But right now, it doesn't look that good to me on the low time frames, and there's a ginormous gap here, right? Like all of that, nothing. So that's why I'm not necessarily jumping into the monthly and the weekly head first. I could see this wash out first. I could also see this maintain for a while to the downside. Who the fuck knows? I don't. I'm just patient. Do you think Hong Kong ETFs will have a massive impact on buy pressure? No, I don't think so. But that is not my area of expertise. But we do have European ETFs as well, and they didn't really do shit. The only ones that really do anything is Bitcoin. Is American ones. But then today altcoins would have made new lows, like Bitcoin. That Saturday liquidation was too brutal to expect the same. Agree with you. Also bleed, but not too badly. I basically think altcoins overshot to the downside quite massively, and that's why they're not making new lows, just because they went horrendously low in the first place. But they will wipe out these lows very fast if Bitcoin goes lower. I think if you're betting on altcoin strength, you have to bet on Bitcoin strength as well. You're not going to get one or the without the other. Especially not in the current circumstances where Bitcoin went to 70K and you still couldn't get retail to buy massive amounts of altcoins. So I think kind of shit out of luck on that one. Anyway, one cool news is ETH BTC. Look at that. Who could have guessed that ETH BTC would do well if Bitcoin does poorly? But obviously ETHUSD is still down. It's exactly playing out like we talked about like in the last few weeks. Where you're going to be happy that you're holding ETH and not other things. But you're still not going to be happy. Solana, ETH, same. It's actually below where I flooded it. Waiting for apologies from all the people that called me the worst person alive. I called it a bad trade here. I went a little bit above. Now it's a little bit below. Now I'm expecting apologies. Not gonna get any though. Still think Solana is the worst ETH trade, but could be wrong. Right now, that idea is in profit by like 10%, which is nothing. So we'll see how that plays out. Rally to high 60s to get people horny, then mega nuke to 45K. No, I think it's either gonna nuke here or it's gonna rally. If it doesn't nuke here, it's either gonna go sideways and up or just up. I think at this point, you're either gonna go low or you're just not going to. Like if you think, oh yeah, we're going back to 67 and then we're gonna go lower, I very much don't think so. We basically did it here. We did that move in here already. That like shoulder, complacency shoulder-ish on the low time frames. Now, obviously what could happen if you're betard is that you get a complacency shoulder like this. But I don't think you're gonna get a complacency shoulder here. It doesn't make sense to me. But could, obviously, never guarantees. Hey Don, been watching you and Cred for years. I think it was some Twitch streams in 2017. Somehow first time catching you live. Big fan. Thanks for all your work. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I used to stream on Twitch. Good times. Don, will you ever use a dark theme chart? No. I don't know why people do. Looks completely horrendous and shit. I think people with dark charts have mental illness. No offense, much love. People with mental illness also deserve to have a good life. So I'm wishing you guys the best, but it's just how it is. But yeah, that's where we are right now at support. We're flooding support. We're flooding monthly, weekly, and daily support, which is great. No, I mean, this is obviously like if you're looking for new shorts, this is a dangerous place to put them on. That said, like if if support breaks proper, it will teleport to the downside, but it's still too risky, I think, to be a decent trade. Like if you short it anywhere near range high and you're like, I want to just sit in these, I think it's fair enough. Shorting into the range low, a little bit risky, especially if you have triple confluence across time frames. But I still think there's a higher likelihood of this breaking down than breaking up. But we'll see how it goes in the next few days. Do you trade purely on support and resistance? No indicators, no macro, no news, no indicators. I find them kind of weird. Like you can kind of see the indicators like on the chart. Really, like the indicators kind of don't do anything for me. Like I don't really see much more on the indicators than I see on the chart. There's a few that I find like could make sense, but nothing big and nothing worthwhile. But I do obviously, like, a lot of my trading is sentiment, and a lot of my trading is kind of like just gauging how the market reacts to news, reacts to whatever inflows, everything. Like basically market reacts to X, and I kind of make up my mind on what that is supposed to mean or not. And then also narratives. I see narratives floating around, and I'm like, okay, this has legs, this doesn't have. But yeah, that's basically it. Okay. What do you think about the impact of S&P on Bitcoin nowadays? I think it's going to be more because of the ETF that we have. Like it's going to fall more and more in line, but could be wrong. But it feels like it. Don't know why are we dumping? Because less people are buying than selling. Not sure what you mean with ETH strength. The chart still looks bad. I mean, obviously the chart looks bad. I just said like it's not gonna go down as much as like the other things. And if you put ETH, like if you put anything against ETH, right? Sol ETH I showed earlier. You can do, I mean, Link ETH. It's down. You can do Atom ETH. Horrendously down. Then you can do whatever. What's Bonk ETH? Does it even exist? Bonk USD, ETH USD, horrendously down. What's the flavor? Width down. This is what I've been talking about in the last few weeks, basically. Like that you're gonna see the moment the market turns around, you're gonna see people be happier holding ETH over other altcoins. But obviously the market has turned, right? So you're still gonna eat shit on ETH. What the fuck? But thoughts on Litecoin? Litecoin had like a false breakout of sorts. Look. A false breakout of sorts and teleported down, went to support. It's gonna be interesting, I think, at like 70-ish. If that fails, it starts looking really fucking bad. Bitcoin dominance. So I hate this chart, and I've explained why, but I think the new audience might not know. The reason why I hate this chart is because it will always trend towards nothing, as in like towards zero, because there's always going to be more and more altcoins, and they kind of inflate Bitcoin dominance and like stable coins and all that shit, right? All of that is calculated into Bitcoin dominance. So the more new coins you get and the more old kind of fossil coins hang around, like EOS or whatever, like XRP EOS, they have huge market caps, but there's not really that much trading going on there, right? And with every cycle, there's more of these. So technically, this should always trend down. That's why I hate this, because I mean, this is just not an accurate chart. That said, it's really funny that we have Bitcoin dominance going up this aggressively with all of that said. And I wouldn't want to bet on like a reversal on this thing. It's a strong trend. And for now, there's no real reason to think that's going to end. But yeah, could obviously reverse whatever. But I think this chart, the Bitcoin dominance chart, is a little bit useless. Doesn't really help much. How long do you think this chop downside lasts? I think so. That's a good question, because I think there's a good chance, and this would be the most bullish thing, that we actually just go sideways here. And I think that could last towards like August, ish, August, September, October. Could see that be like some form of chop in this area for this long. Wouldn't surprise me. Any downside action towards lower would cut this short, as in I think it would go up quicker. How many more leg ups before end of bull market? I think one. Do you see 20k as possible? No, I think 20k is not possible. I mean, it is always possible, but it's very, 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 very unlikely. I think that ship has sailed. And if we go back to 20k, we're fucked. Like completely and utterly fucked. I would buy it, but I would sell the bounce. Don, what would make you buy? Move towards like 50, 45k. That would do the trick. Or just generally just go sideways for a while would also do the trick. Like if we go sideways for another 2-3 months with like a washout or two in between, that'd be nice. Do you think Bitcoin to 100k is unlikely? I don't know if it's gonna make it this cycle, but I don't think it's. I think 20k is much more unlikely than 100k. But yeah, that's kind of where we are right now. ETH obviously still struggling, but doing much better than the rest. I still think this could use a little bit more downside, like 0.043 around here. That'd be nice. Optimal would be 0.035. But I could see ETH just slowly reverse from any point before, honestly. The ETH narrative has become so bad, the narrative, there's a good narrative there, but the consensus and kind of like the sentiment has become so bad that I think this could turn out just fine on the relative front. But if Bitcoin keeps going down, that's obviously not going to hold help the ETH holders. Pepe. I mean, that looks rough. I mean, maybe you could get me to buy this at like down here, and I mean, this could never get there and go further, right? But if it nukes here on it's like a 50% move lower, which is already like it's quite a bit. But then you might get me to kind of try for a complacency leg where I get to sell into this. And then probably does something like this and goes further up, but I would be happy in selling in that. That would be how I would trade Pepe if I get to. Obviously, you could just do this and then go down and then start walking back up, whatever. But like this would have to do something extreme for me to buy it. And down here would do the trick. Are you still buying Doge over BTC? I would be buying altcoins at the lows, where I think the lows are in anyway, yeah. I might buy a little bit of Bitcoin because it's the most comfortable I am with anything in crypto, but yeah. Doge, we can look at Doge. So I like this. It's not that bad. Also not that bad. It's kind of funny. We talked about Doge, like someone was FOMOing into Doge at 0.22 live on stream. And we talked about it and I was like, this is monthly resistance, the one place where you shouldn't be FOMOing in. Now we're at monthly support. I'm not really seeing too many people FOMOing into Doge. We are technically at Bitcoin supports, right? And at Doge support, so it's not necessarily the worst bet. But like I said, I kind of feel like the Bitcoin support might break, at least short term, and then reclaim whatever. So I'm a little bit cautious, but I'm not hating on the setup where it's just like, okay, it got really close to monthly support on USD. It dipped into the Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin monthly support. It's not the worst trade. Gary is out. No way. Well, we're gonna have to look at that after the stream. I don't think we tell you this enough, but thanks for putting these live streams. No worries, man. Thanks for coming by. Would be quite lonely if no one came by. Hey Don, what do you think about FTM? I don't think about FTM, but I can look at it just so I also think about FTM. I still don't think about FTM. Like that broke out, immediate retest, could be decent. Like it's a support, 0.56. As long as that holds, okay. If that doesn't hold, it looks like complete and utter garbage. So I think that's what you're kind of left with. But it's tough. Like trading these kind of charts is tough. Mate, why do you look at Doge BTC, not the USD pair? I mean, what's the difference? The difference is that, like, if I'm trading, I want to outperform Bitcoin, right? So I want to look at, like, I could trade Bitcoin if I cared about outperforming the USD. But if I'm trading altcoins, I want to do better than that. And that's why I think the Bitcoin pairs are the more important ones. Like Solana, for example, right? Like that showed you strength on the Bitcoin pair, and that was kind of the go sign for the USD pair. Like, look, you have like a little bit of shitty price action, still decent, like still higher lows and everything, but the Bitcoin pair was just very clean. For me, it's more important that I'm outperforming Bitcoin when I'm trading altcoins than anything else. So, yeah. But yeah, please don't spam. It's a little bit hard to read the chat if you do. Anyway, so that's what we're kind of left with. Bitcoin hanging on to support, trying really hard. And if it fails, I think the altcoins will teleport lower with it. Best case scenario would be like a washout into reclaim. I think that would be quite bullish. And I think at that point you can remove these lines, like if you move away from them far enough. Worst case, I think, would be just going back up, and then it's a mediocre range that is not really tradable. But yeah. And I generally think, just so we also talked about the bullish case, right? Because we did talk about the bearish case more. This is support. And like I said, we have weekly and monthly support as well. Confluence on all of them. If we bounce, right? And this is why I'd be kind of excited if this goes down and comes back up, because then you have even more confluence, right? But anyway, if this bounces, this resistance has been tested as much as the support. I think it's shit now. So if we get a strong push up from this range low into that resistance, I think there's a good chance it will do shit and it will teleport towards 75, 80K. So the bullish case would be kind of just baiting in shorts, whether that be here or lower, and then reclaim the range and then just fucking sending it. Or just holding the range and then slowly walking up also works, but I think that would be the less good setup. So. Would you buy a washout or only on the reclaim? I mean, if it washes out aggressively and I see a bunch of people liquidate it, I will probably buy it. You can say this is a range, yes. Don't chances of cycle top at 180k in your opinion? 1% maybe? I think it's gonna be much lower, but you never know how crazy this market gets. Do you think we get alt season if Bitcoin does end up ranging for a few months? I think you're gonna get a few altcoins and a few narratives that work well, and they're gonna do extremely well, and everything else is gonna be trading like shit if Bitcoin ranges. I don't think we're gonna get alt season with how everything is kind of playing out right now, like the typical alt season where everyone is making money, just because retail doesn't really give a fuck. They're more than happy to trade options on the S&P, and they're less interested on trading crypto right now. So if we go sideways here in this range, I don't really see that much interest developing. If we go sideways at 80k, I think maybe. At that point, I'd be shocked if we didn't get major retail streams come in. But right now, I don't know. Dave the Wave says 160k. Yeah, but he's called Dave the Wave, dude. I mean, yeah. Anyway, think Doge can still go to 1. Feel like we don't have the momentum for it. Yeah, I think so. It's just not on this push, but on the next one, I think so. Since you're doing a marathon, let me tell you, your stream is something that helps me exercise, so you should do more of it in a week. Dude, I'm training like usually like 2 hours ish a day, like 1 or 2 hours. More often than not on the 2 hour side of things. And I'm running out of shit to watch or do or whatever so quickly. It's actually insane. So happy to help. Anyway, that's that. Someone asked what my gut is saying. I think the most likely path would be a washout into a reclaim. Like that's what I think is the most likely. Followed by the second most likely, in my opinion, would be a washout into bounce into full death. And then the third most likely would be just kind of like ranging here. But that's just what my gut says, which isn't really anything. What's your thought about GCR tweet, Doug? I don't really think about anyone else but me when I'm trading. I didn't even check it properly, but I think he said something like hold your altcoins or something. I don't remember. I think it's not necessarily the worst advice. I think there might be better entries down the line, but I think they're like Dogecoin is probably gonna trade much higher than it is right now if Bitcoin goes towards 70, 80k. So I don't think it's bad advice per se. If I quote him right, I might not. Like I said, I don't really care what other people do. Like the only thing I use Twitter for is entertainment nowadays. Are you still holding your position from 16k? No. I sold that a long time ago. I sold that way too early, but I was like, I'm getting basically zero sleep, and I want to be focusing on my family because I had a baby during. Like I bought Bitcoin at the bottom, and I had a baby, and then the first 2 months were easy, and then I got proper fucked. So now it's getting easier again, but like we had 5 good months, and then 5 really bad ones with basically no sleep. So I was like, fuck it. I'm over this. I don't want to add anything else stress-wise. So I don't think it's over yet. A lot of people are thinking, is it over? I don't think it's over yet. There's a chance it's over, but I think it's very low. I think if you're going to get a pullback, that's going to be a nice buy regardless of whether it's over or not. Like, let's say this washes out. I think you're always going to, depending on how low this goes, the better. But like if you get to buy 52, for example, I think you're gonna get to sell 58, 57 pretty soon afterwards. And then there's a chance it does this and it just keeps going. But still, like that would be a good leg, right? 52, 58, something like that. How old are you? Know where you have a kid? I am above 30, below 50. And I do have a child. Only time anyone can outperform Don is due to sleep deprivation. Nah, dude. During bull markets, people always outperform me. But people always give back, like percentage-wise. But people always give back so much, and I rarely do. I usually end the bull markets down like 5 or 10%, which is probably not optimal because that just means I'm not kind of milking it for all it's worth. But also like my portfolio swings are much smaller than other people's in the space. So yeah, there you go. I think that's enough for today. It's been a pleasure hanging around with you guys. Thanks for the nice questions and good comments. We'll be back. I might be able to convince Cred to do a stream tomorrow about altcoins where we go in depth, but I cannot promise it. So we'll see if that happens. If not, Friday show will be happening. Yeah, stay safe. Don't do anything dumb. And we'll see each other or talk to each other, whatever, in a few days. Bye. Much love.